Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. We're going to get going in a second. It is crazy outside, but we still do this. Let me do some magic trick here and go bada bing, a, and then do one of these. Oh, and we're doing this. What's going on? Welcome. Happy Monday. When's the last time someone said that to you, right? What's going on, Michael, Edgar, Johnny, Heidi? How are you? Yes, Jennifer, it is snowy. In fact, there was a travel ban last night around 9 o'clock at night, and it's supposed to be going on until noon today, whatever a travel ban really means. No joke, there are New York City cops out there having snowball fights, and I'm here for it. If we're just going to have a goofy, silly, good time, we need it. Okay. I didn't want to not do this stream. I could have easily been like, nah, but I did work on my home setup, so I was like, might as well use it, right? I'm still getting used to it. Things are actually reversed from what I'm used to, so my brain's a little weird about it. And now everyone's texting me, of course. Hang on. So obviously, I can't do like a live shoot in here and do stuff that I can make dynamic answers for, but it's an Ask Me Anything. So that means we can talk about whatever. We can catch up on some industry news or whatever. And also, we're just hanging out, right? So I figured if you're home during this, you're chilling, literally, figuratively, whatever. And, we're just kind of going for it. Michael, how much snow is here? There is about 2 feet, I'd say. What's weird is I live next to an above ground train, right? And last night I was watching the last trains go through the heaviest parts of the snow, and I thought it was a lightning storm outside because there was so much sparks flying off of these trains. And I grabbed the camera and I tried to rush out there, but the train was already gone. And then I haven't seen a train in a minute, and it's really weird not hearing anything. Like now I have to listen to my own thoughts. Nah, not having it. It's just weird when the sound goes away that you're used to all the time. You're just kind of like, wait a minute, what's going on? And it just, when the trains aren't running at all, that's when you know we're in like some special situation. I do know that some of you in the Lower East Side were dealing with shuttle buses that weren't running for whatever reason. So there's that. Let me know if any of the stream is stuttering, by the way. Let me see what my frames are doing. Dropped frames, 6%. Something's going on here. Hang on, guys. Let me play some games here. Let's change this to that. It applied. Okay, let's see if this does any better. Sorry about that. This should clear that up. I feel like we got a healthier stream now. No? Good? Yes? All right. So I do have some questions to answer on the question sticker that I put on my Instagram every day before I go live. Oh man, I got a ton of ginger in here. So spiced up. Have you seen the new Tamron 35 to 100 2.8 yet? I have not, though I am told I'm going to be getting it in hand, and we'll see what we do about a video for it. However, there are some videos coming out to the channel you will see me on. I've been working like crazy, so just stay tuned. That's all I can say about that. Have not actually shot with that lens yet. My buddy Matt Irwin has. He says it's a pretty great value for what it is, and I'm curious to get it in my hands as well. Kristen's in an igloo in Jersey. Okay. Is that a background animation filter? No. So this is just cheap garbage dollar store water effect lights. They give it like a pool effect, and they got like RGB. You can't hear it, but it's actually really noisy. They were a couple of bucks. New York dollar stores, man. Let me tell you, I bought a snow machine at a dollar store. Ask Daniel Norton about that. What a total mess that made of the studio. I didn't know how it worked, and now I know what a dollar store snow machine does. Spoiler alert, it just throws shaved snow soap foam everywhere, and we have an epoxy coated white enamel floor that's cement painted and epoxy coated, and that was a nightmare. But I thought it'd be cool, and it's sitting on the floor of our gear locker now forever and haven't been using it. So there's that. But no, I just wanted to do stuff that, you know, one, I just wanted to have not the typical YouTube background, which was like RGB lights. And I didn't want to do a green screen. And I didn't want to do those LED lights that you might have seen on my own channel forever, where it was just like glowing bokeh balls everywhere. I was so sick of it. So I just wanted to go with something that was a little more branded, but also not boring and easy on the wallet. Plus, I wanted to put my play button up there, you know, for my channel, which if you subscribe to my channel, thank you guys so much. Anyway, Quiet NY must be really weird. You know, when you get it, you really appreciate it. So I lived through like everything here in New York. I lived through 9/11. I lived through blackouts. I lived through COVID, obviously. And it's really special to be in a place like Times Square or Penn Station, and there just isn't a lot of people around. You can hear echoes. There's like a breathability to the air. Like, and I mean by that, I mean like there's a less weight in the air. Does that make any sense to you guys? And I really, really appreciate it. I've always really appreciated hectic public spaces that are not, that are vacant, right? So one of the things I always thought was wild when I was a kid in like the early 2000s, I always photographed empty parking lots. And I used to go out to Long Island, and there were these big parking lots for all the like community colleges or the mall during holiday season. And it would just blow my mind how valuable each parking spot is when it's a certain time, and then how no one cares about it when they don't need it. And it's just really an interesting concept to me when I was a kid. So, you know, when those community colleges, you were killing yourself to get a spot. People were waiting forever, parking sideways, waiting for somebody to get out, following people, hoping they would get out. Like just this need for those spaces. And all of a sudden we don't need it anymore, you know? What's going on, Brad? How are you? Yeah, these are cheap lights. These water effect lights, they're very, very cheap. Anywhere like DJ lighting kind of stuff. They're meant for what do you call it? Like a lawn. Like you can get them to put a stake in the grass to like project onto a house or something like that. These obviously aren't staked into the ground anymore. All right, I'm gonna jump into some of the question stickers. If you guys have a question, feel free to hit the QQQ across the board. I'll do what I can to answer it. Let me know if the stream is staying stable. If it is not, please yell at me. It looks like we're doing pretty good with the dropped frames. I hope we are. I mean, I worked pretty hard to make sure that this won't do that. Actually, let me just check one more setting before we get going, because maybe I did mess something up. Streaming, meow, 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 meow. Nope, looks pretty good to me. That's not toggled. That looks pretty good. Okay. Yeah, okay. So I'm sure everyone in the world is on the internet right now. Let's jump into it. So one of the questions I got was, is Tony Pags in the chat? He's usually in the chat. You always give me a question that's pretty interesting. I wonder if you like dig for these questions, my friend. Are you going to be at WPPI, by the way? If you didn't know, in a week, we're hitting the Vegas. Adorama is going to have a booth at WPPI. Me, Daniel Norton, a bunch of others will be doing demos in the booth, but I have two stages, one on Monday at 9 a.m. and Wednesday at 9 a.m. So if you guys are interested in, or you are going to WPPI, go check out my stages and a bunch of other amazing instructors out there from the industry. If you are going last minute, just know they gave me a code Seth26 if you want to save some money on your registration, okay? Stream looks good? Okay, cool. Great. Are you guys getting 4K or 1440? Let me know if you're getting 4K streaming this time, because I don't know. My home setup, man, I'm telling you, it's like duct tape together at this point. But I've been ripping it apart, putting it back together, ripping it apart, putting it back together. Parts are hard to come by the way. So Tony's here. Okay, let's talk about what Tony's got to ask, which is kind of interesting. So Tony's asking, electronic, mechanical, or electronic first curtain shutter, advantages, disadvantages of each. So I would say that this is a question that is kind of one of the newer school questions, because we haven't really had electronic shutter as like a prevalent option until mirrorless and until stacked sensors and until semi-stacked sensors, okay? So you're getting 4K. Wow. Okay. Wow. All right. Awesome. Great. This is sick. Okay, so now I know. Let me just make a note because I changed some settings. So when you're talking about some options for your shutter, you have to realize that there's always a trade-off for one or the other, right? Mechanical shutter is the tried and true, will give you probably the best image quality that there. Come on, stop with this. It will probably give you the best image quality as far as any sort of drop in dynamic range, or not having to worry about anything having some issue with a rolling shutter being too slow, meaning you don't get warped movements or a jello frame or something like that. But mechanical shutter has its limitations. One being frames per second. So you can only get up to about, I want to say in my head, 11 frames per second mechanical before you start running into some problems with sync. And then electronic shutter can get you, I mean, we've seen 30 frames per second raw files at this point, right? Because at electronic shutter, at the point of electronic shutter, you're essentially shooting video at just a high resolution of 46 megapixels, 60 megapixels, 33 megapixels, right? But I would say that when you are looking at electronic shutter, your trade-off is going to be, one, is that rolling shutter fast or not? And we've seen a lot of really expensive cameras out there have slower rolling shutter, and you will risk having, you know, a tennis ball looking like an egg, or, you know, tires on a car looking ovalized or something like that. And you don't really get to freeze action as much, right? And so you can mitigate that with mechanical shutter. So you sacrifice the frames per second to gain the stability of the frame itself and a little bit of image quality. Interesting, right? Now, why is there a hybrid? Why is there electronic first curtain, but mechanical second curtain? Well, put it together. Electronic first curtain shutter is really good for situations with 12 frames a second, mechanical, sure. Splitting hairs here, 11, 12, whatever, right? I forgot what I was saying now. Electronic first curtain shutter has no actual mechanical actuation to it, which means there's no shock, there's no vibration of the camera, there's no movement, there's no sound. So if you're doing something that is long exposures, let's say you're shooting a nighttime landscape, you can do an electronic shutter first curtain, it doesn't shake the camera, and then have the mechanical shutter close out that exposure. By the time the shock of the camera hits, the exposure's over, right? You gain things like the image quality goes up a little bit, and you gain, being quieter, you gain less aberration inside the camera, okay? So there's use cases for all of it. A lot of people default to electronic first curtain shutter. Those are mainly going to be on stacked sensors for the most part, because you're going to need to be able to trip a and that's not all cameras. There are cameras with electronic shutter first curtain that aren't stacked, but the reason it's prevalent in stacked is because it can still trigger a flash. The hot shoe still works. Electronic shutter does not trigger a strobe unless the sensor is stacked, fully stacked, right? So you have to kind of, actually partially stack can do it too. So you have to kind of pick and choose what you're prioritizing here, right? The other thing to remember is when you're using mechanical shutter, you're adding wear and tear to your camera. This is a big deal if you're doing fast frames per second, a lot of them. So if you talk to someone like Jamie Price, for example, is a world-renowned, probably one of the best, if not the best, motorsports photographer out there. He made a routine of getting his shutters replaced over time because he was blasting through high frame rates for a long time, millions of frames. And so he would worry about the day that shutter just explodes, basically, like it just fails. Because no matter what brand you own, no matter how much you spent, it's still a moving mechanical part, and something will fail at some point, especially if you're a pro working hard on those, on your bodies, right? So when we look at cameras that have all electronic shutter, you take away that whole thing. Plus, you can and this is like a vanity thing, but you can kind of maintain a little bit of your resale value. If you don't have a lot of mechanical shutter use, there's nothing really wearing and tearing, right? So your shutter count, mechanical, goes down, higher value on resale. So it's there's a lot of options out there in your cameras, and you have to understand what you're trading off one for the other. And I think the more you understand that, the more you understand how your cameras work, you'd actually be surprised how much better your images get, because you'd even realize that maybe you were getting shutter shake and you just didn't notice it so much. Or maybe that lens is a little bit sharper than you thought because you started using electronic shutter and realizing, oh, when I was using mechanical shutter, I was getting a little bit of shake. A lot of people, you know what's really funny is when a lot of people are getting into photography, especially in the mirrorless era, because I think we saw a lot of new photographers come in because they were coming from their phone, right? It was funny how they all were about constant light. And then when they started learning strobe, the first comment I always heard when I taught somebody strobe was, wow, look how sharp these images are. Yeah, because you probably aren't even attuned to seeing a strobed image where there's literally zero chance of having any sort of movement to the camera or the subject, because when we do a demo, right, we lock out all the ambient light. So if it's a black frame, if my flash duration is not too long, I'll have a still as possible image. And you'll start thinking, oh, my images are sharper. Or maybe you just had a little tiny micro movement in your shots. Does that make sense to you guys? I feel like this chat just went dead. I feel like maybe I lost you. Electronic shutter will get you faster frames per second. But unless you need that, you're going to risk things like having warping to your subject. However, higher end cameras that are electronic shutter don't have that issue because you're literally paying for that faster readout sensor. Sensor readout is a critical spec at this point if you're going to be using electronic shutter, especially if you don't realize that your video, when you shoot video, it's all electronic shutter. This is electronic shutter right now. So if you're someone that pans a lot and your electronic shutter is a slow readout speed, you start seeing some jello going on. You know? And then you're going to wonder what that is. It's a slower readout sensor, because if it's taking longer to get to the bottom, if let me see if I got something. I feel like I always have to like figure out, do I have a, okay, so this is, okay, so say, here, I'll make this even easier. Say this piece of paper is your sensor, right? You take a shot, the sensor is reading out, rolling down. Now, if I'm moving and it's still rolling down, what do you think's happening to the image that's entering my camera and exposing on that sensor? It's getting warped, right? So before you know it, everything looks like it's like swooshing. That's really what's going on. So is Nikon really developing their electronic shutters only in the Z8 and Z9? Look, I've been shooting the Z9 for 4 years. I've been shooting the Z8 for 3, I think, at this point. I haven't had any issues, right? You know, one of the things you have to remember about mechanical shutters, you will have way less issues with strobe syncing. Well, I haven't had an issue with either of these cameras syncing, and they don't have a mechanical shutter at all. In fact, when they told me that, I guess this is kind of a little under the hood. When we were in the conference room getting read what the Z9 was going to be, and they said there was literally no shutter in the camera, the first thing I asked was what the trade-off was. What are we losing? Joe McNally, I remember when I was talking to him about it, he was like, the first thing I asked them was, can it still do high-speed sync? And guess what? It totally can. However, you will face things like banding at I'm talking 8,000th of a second shutter speeds, and I'm talking in very specific situations. I've been able to mitigate the banding by adding a little more power to my TTL. Maybe we'll do that as a demo one of these days or whatever. But the reality is, no matter what, we're dealing with a lot of things that have flicker rates and banding issues now, which is what electronic shutters are really prone to. Mechanical shutters, they take that away. They take away a lot of the banding issues, meaning LED lights that have flickers or LED signs that may be incomplete when you photograph them, like in the back of a baseball game, or if you're shooting in a venue and some lights are half on, half off, or you see stripes down your actual frame. That's usually from the electronic shutter, not the mechanical shutter. So, and you can mitigate things like that with slower shutter speeds, but sometimes in situations you don't have the option of slower shutter speeds. Now we bring up the idea of global shutter, where it's not a rolling shutter, right? It's just all on, all off. There's a huge trade-off to that, though. When you have all on, all off instead of rolling down, you have a massive amount of data. And that means that you have to kind of make trade-offs. One, the price goes up. It needs a ton of processing power, right? But to make it read that fast, it has to take away some data to handle it, at least at this point in time right now. And what's the first thing that takes a hit? Dynamic range. So what you gain with global shutter is not dealing with rolling shutter issues, but you lose a little bit of image quality there. What is your priority? Is it image quality, or is it something like banding? Now, here's the other thing. What people don't really realize with a global shutter, while it may mitigate things like banding or flicker rather, let's say the time you take that shot is a moment where some of the LED bulbs are in their flicker state where they're off in that millisecond of time. It doesn't take that away. Those bulbs are off at the moment you took that shot. So you still have to deal with some sort of mismatching flicker rate. What I mean by that is, let's say you're in a gym or basketball court or something like that, and there's, I don't know, 25 LED bulbs in the sky lighting up the floor. If 10 of those bulbs are in a sequence of the flicker being off, that means you only got 15 of those bulbs on at the time of your shot. So you're still dealing with on-off flicker rates. In my personal opinion, what I think is going to happen is LED lights are just going to get better at flicker rates, and we're not even going to have this discussion about banding and flicker in a few more years with newer cameras, obviously. But does that make sense to you guys? Am I just talking gibberish here? By the way, Chinese food soup containers are the best cups on the planet. You're welcome. They handle heat. They got so much room in them. They're easy to clean. You're saving a little bit of the environment by reusing them. Come on, come on. Egg drop soup in this joint. Now we're doing some ginger green tea. Forget about it. So, does this make any sense to you guys? Yeah. So what Craig is saying, the milliseconds is what you kind of pay attention to when it comes to electronic shutter. I would say anything faster than 12 is pretty decent for video. There's people with other preferences. Okay. Gaston is asking, I shoot the D850. Is there a learning curve on the Z8? And is it worth purchasing? You're talking about a night and day different type of shooting experience. I think mirrorless adds a lot to versatility, usability. The video functionality alone, you're getting an extra kit, basically. Depending on what you're doing, if the D850 is delivering the images you want, which is a phenomenal sensor, I still own mine. I did the release video for that camera, and I couldn't wait to buy one. I ended up buying two. Incredible image quality in that camera, for sure. So it's really up to you if it's worth the investment. But going forward, if you want to offer video, if you want to see what you're doing in real time, the lenses, the Z lenses having minimal breathing, incredibly sharp, not to mention the edge-to-edge ability in mirrorless, no matter what system you're on, to have an autofocus point. With a DSLR, you're literally like in this much of the frame is your focus points and tracking, you know? So studio work, you're probably fine with the D850, but look at what you gain with the Z8 and see if there's anything in there you will prioritize or grow into. At least you can take your lenses with you, right? You can just adapt them from F mount to Z mount. I try, Heidi. I never know if what I'm saying is making sense to people. The more advanced our cameras get, there's kind of like these two things that happen. They try to make things easier for us to do, but they also get more complicated to understand. So it's kind of like rough, right? You know? I do get more banding with a Z6 III versus a Z8 with some LED, but then I just pop over to mechanical shutter. So a Z6 III is only partially stacked. A Z8 is fully stacked. So what does that mean? In the center of this partially stacked sensor is the stacked portion, but the top and bottom are just BSI sensor, basically. So you're still dealing with a slower sensor here and a slower sensor here. What it's allowing you to do is kind of give you like a little bit of a boost where you can get less rolling shutter issues, but not completely eliminate them. But you're also talking about a camera that is probably like $1,000 or dollars more or less with that ability, right? Something like a Z8, a Sony A1, on Canon R5 II, something with a stacked A9, what are we on, 2? A9 II, A9 III is global, but a stacked sensor is exponentially faster of a sensor, without a doubt. So yeah, you will absolutely see differences in the image when it comes to an electronic shutter when you're literally using a sensor that's exponentially faster, you know? Okay. Tony, did that answer? Boy, I feel like that was a massive rabbit hole. Why does you know what? You ever do something and if you feel like you press the button out to the world and they just go, I guess I'll text them now. Whenever I go live, I feel like I just get slammed. All right, the next question. Damon Bao, are you in this chat? Or Dan Arango, I think you're in this chat, right, buddy? I think I saw you. Or maybe I'm just used to you being in the chat. Yeah, so Brad's saying he deals with flicker and video all the time, and you're going to. If there's junky LEDs around that have really bad flicker rates or frequencies, you can only play around with the shutter speed and video so much. With stills, we have in between shutter speeds now, high frequency shutter rates. I'm talking like the Z8, Z9, a bunch of Sonys. You can totally put in a flicker reduction, not eliminate reduction, where you can shoot in between shutter speeds. So instead of shooting at 1,000th of a second, you can shoot at 1238.74th of a second. I'm not making this up. You can literally get that crazy and you will dial it in till it works. Some cameras try to automate this. I still think the manual way works a little better, but you can totally do that now. I have all my, let me see if I got one. I have all my my custom buttons on lenses. I always set to this, no matter what system I'm using. I always know that if I'm in a situation that has some weird flicker rate, I hit that and I try to dial it in and out, you know? So I know a lot of sports photographers are like living on that function now. As far as DaVinci taking the flicker out, it literally is checking the frames where the flicker is there or not there and kind of mitigating which ones it needs and doesn't need. Pretty cool. Definitely a nice AI feature, right? Yeah, people know you're alive, you're live streaming. I know, right? Or my favorite is when they text me, hey, are you live? And I'm like, if you know me that well, you can see if I'm live. All right. Okay. What are we doing here? Oh, right. So is Dan Arango or Damon Bao in the chat? I only got 2 more questions. If you guys have any other questions, we can get into it. We just spent a half an hour on shutter options. I will say the high frequency shutter has been a game changer for sure. So if your camera does have that and you shoot in places like concert venues, any place that has constant light that you need in the frame somehow, LED signs, older LED bulbs. So I find that in a lot of like public schools, they switched over to LED bulbs, but they never changed them in the last 15 years. So they're like old flickery ones. All right, Dan Orango's in the chat. His question was, thoughts on keeping track of ideas for photos? I think this is a very personal thing. I think whatever works for you, right? I have no shock, right? I have a very erratic mind. So when I come up with something, I know that if I don't record it somewhere, it's gone forever. And so the notes app in my phone is my biggest friend. I have pinned to the top video ideas, shoot ideas, something that's going on currently. Like we're going to WPPI. There's stuff that I know I need to remember. It goes into that. But there's people I know that have full-on serial killer looking poster boards here, or like True Detective, crazy, everywhere is everything. I once dated a girl that was a different type of creative, and everything everywhere was a mood board or some sort of reminder. It drove me crazy. I couldn't touch anything because She might need it. I don't know. She was brilliant, incredible work of what she was doing, but man, she was so scared to forget some idea she had. And I totally get that because we can't control when they hit us and we try hard to remember, but life's hectic and we move faster than ever before. So for me, I just throw to my phone's app. I always make, and I try to keep that as organized as I can. And then once in a while, if I got a down moment or I'm taking a flight or waiting for a train, I'll scroll through and be like, oh yeah, that, yeah. And I try to bring it back. But I think everybody has their own systems. I know some people have like apps that just send them random notifications to remind them of things that they put in there. So I'm like, that doesn't really work for me because half the time I'm doing something else. So it's up to you. Yeah, Dan, I just answered. Did you not get that? Am I on that much of a delay? By the way, guys, we got about 60 of you in here and 20 likes. If you guys could hit like, I'd appreciate it. Before I go on, really quick, guys, we are at 66,000 subscribers. I want to get this channel to 100K. Just so you know, everything that has been filmed out of the Adorama event space that I could find has now been collaborated to this channel. So if you subscribe to Adorama TV or if you don't, the collaboration tabs now has the full playlist of Coffee with Creators. That's 80 episodes. You also have all Daniel's onsets going forward will be there. So you have a ton of more content on this channel than you think. So make sure you check out the collaboration tab, which is my favorite feature YouTube has put out in a long, long time. And I'm going to also collaborate some of my own videos to my personal channel if you guys want. Obviously, you can... That's all my social. And that is also my YouTube channel. Heidi saying my R3 has that and it helps so much when shooting in low light, icky light venues. Yeah, the high frequency is amazing. It just might take you a second to get settled in, but if you're in that environment and you're going to be hanging out in that environment shooting, like, it's pretty good to have. I even know people that have notebooks of that setting, the high frequency shutter setting for whatever venue, if they go there consistently. If you shoot at a music venue once a month, it's good. Some cameras actually let you save it as a preset. I don't know how many they give you, but that's awesome. Are you kidding me? Just like, oh, I'm going back to blah 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 bar to shoot this band again. Preset 3 on my high frequency, and I'm good. No more guessing, and you just get to work. Tony's asking, what are your thoughts on the Fuji Instax Evo cinema camera? I know Daniel's been playing with it. Daniel has not just been playing with it. Daniel's been obsessed with that thing. 1 second. Dude, I love ginger. I love ginger. That camera is super fun. And what I found really, really fun about it was handing it to younger kids, and they get psyched on it. So I thought someone was going to look at this and go, why can't I just do this on my phone with an app? But all the younger kids around Adorama that we were handing it to were all saying, like, this is awesome. I don't got to look for an app. I don't got to worry about a subscription they're going to charge me. I can make prints from this. This is sick. This is awesome. And just the form factor of it made them want to use it. And because they named all the, what I'll call simulations by year, they were psyched on that part. They didn't even care if it was accurate or whatever. There's like 80s, click, this is sick. And I was like, if it makes people that amped up, I'm all in. It was a lot of fun to use. It's really cool looking. Every time we pull it out, someone wants to talk about it, right? So there's a lot going on with that camera. And I have, do I have it here? Yeah, actually I do. I have the, oh, I got both of them here. Look at that. Oh, I'm caught on stuff. I actually have the Fuji Film Evo Mini and the wide, which I did the video on, which this is so superficial, but it matches my GFX 100 too. It's like the same color and texture, and I just like it. It's just so much fun. It's so tactile, but like you can just really mess with. I've dialed it to like the look I want, where I don't really play with the presets too much or the look anymore. But if I wanted to, I could. And then I make a print, I give it to somebody, and then I have a saved image, and I can go make a print or upload or send to my phone or whatever. It's just there's so much you can do with it. There's so much usability to it. There's so much experience to be had with these cameras, and I think Fujifilm did a really good job on these. You know, it's one of those cameras that if you're jaded or burnt out or something, you just grab it and you just mess around, and then you take it to something social and you hand people the prints and you just have a really good time with it, you know. So the Cine is a very weird camera, but it is weird in the funnest ways ever, and I'm a fan, and I think Fujifilm is just one of these brands that always is very refreshing. I feel like my chair is shrinking to the floor. This chair, if anybody has been following me since my old Twitch days on my personal channel, this is the same chair that's been breaking on me for like a decade. I have got to buy a new chair at one of these at some point. It is super fun and unique, and I would say it's a camera that I don't think you'd regret because you could just always pull it out and have fun with it. It's not one of those cameras that you think will sit on a shelf. Throw it in your bag next to your other stuff. It's small enough, and then you're working with people, you're working with a band, you're working with a model, you're working with a talent, you're working an event. People just get psyched on it, and you get these weird little videos with like weird, crazy audio. It's just so much fun, dude. So yeah. Any other questions, guys, before I well, before nothing. I guess I don't have another question here except for, so I'm just going to answer this last one on the question sticker because it's here. I don't know if they're here, but maybe they'll watch it on playback. Damon Bao is asking, what's the best light position when shooting with the Fresnel shadow cast plus or minus barn doors? So I think on the first episode, was it the first episode of this series we shot with the Fresnel? It is a hard light. And with any hard light, you're going to get real crazy shadow casting. It's like having a sundial, right? So when you talk about position of your Fresnel, what is the image you're trying to create? What look are you going for? If you're working with a model and you're going for something in a very controlled situation, I always try to get them to look towards the Fresnel. If that's the case, I've got to be conscious of which way they're going to look, and then I will place my light there, right? It's not this blanket of a light that no matter what you do, it'll look great. You know, it is a beautiful light when it hits. As far as barn doors go, it just adds another level of control. I don't have barn doors on the ones I use. I could use them, sure. But I've always been able to just kind of mitigate it easily with like some cinefoil, or really good Fresnels have an opening and closing iris to them, actually. You know what? I have my Fresnel over here. Do you guys want me to grab it? Let me know in the chat. I'll run off camera really quick and get my Fresnel. But spoiler, I can't say much, but I'm just going to say late tonight, there's going to be a video that comes out with me using that Fresnel, and you will see it in all its glory. There's also the Click Fresnel from Profoto, which is literally just a disc of a lens that magnetizes to an A2. I love that thing. It's beautiful, but a Fresnel light is very deliberate. So if you're talking about what's best position, think about what's best position for your model or what your subject is first, and then place your light accordingly. And there's been plenty of times I shoot with a Fresnel that I have to like change where throughout the shoot where I'm moving that Fresnel. It's not staying stable for me, you know, because that's just how I work. I just get a little crazy. You want me to get it? Okay, give me 2 seconds, guys. I will be right back. Hold on 2 seconds. Okay. So this is a drum case that I bought from a drum store across the street from my studio. If you see, it's labeled Fresnel. This is a small Fresnel. You're going to think it's big, but this is a small Fresnel. You have seen it. You've seen me use it. If you've been following me at all, I love Fresnels. When a scene or a shot calls for a hard light, it's just such a special looking light, especially if you're trying to get a lot of texture out of your subject, meaning texture of eyes, jewelry to snap, kick, really fine detail on costumes or something like that. It's a stage light essentially, right? Oh. So this is a Pro Photo Fresnel small. You can see right there, stickers on it so that Daniel can't steal it. And then you have an iris here that opens and closes how much the light gets projected. Can you see it in here maybe? Can you guys see that? So if I do this, can you guys see the open and closing? Yeah, right. So that gives me a lot of control. So it's because you have so much control, it's literally like having, not like a spotlight. I wouldn't say it's like a spotlight, but because it's not like a focusable light, but it is what a lot of people in my entire career have always said the same word. It's a homogenized light, meaning it's clean. There's no aberrations. There's no splitting of the edge. There's no like color artifacting. Like it's just, it really does clean up your light and make it nice and even and consistent. But it is only going to cover a certain amount of area, you know? What you do also gain is a little bit of power out of it because it does kind of magnify the light a little bit and you do get a little bit more juice out of it. So you're going to see a video coming out later tonight that I can't talk about, but you'll see it. And I hope you guys all comment on that video, hit like on that video. It would be a huge favor to me. It's not a long video, I promise. You guys can hang out and you'll see me do a shoot on location for a change, okay? Okay. Yeah, an optical spot is more of a spotlighty kind of thing. And that is a focusable light, which is a big difference from not focusing the light, okay? Oh, man. It's actually like really light. It also kind of feels like a giant coffee cup. You're kind of like, oh. Actually, this would be amazing if someone made a giant coffee cup that looks like a Fresnel, like the shell of a Fresnel. Can someone do that, please? That'd be amazing. This will be on the main channel, Rigger Jeff, not on this channel. So yeah. Okay. The Fresnel is one of the Fresnel. I'm sorry. The Fresnel. Brad's asking, the Fresnel is the one you add a lens onto, correct? If so, I'd love to see a stream that goes through different lenses. No, this is not. No, an optical spot is the one that you change lens on because you're literally focusing it. The lens here is more about a filtration, I would say, than actually an optic. Having different lenses on an optical spot changes how much it has spread, its focusing, and how much light projection comes from it. You know? Yeah, listen, if you guys, and this is like a shameless plug, but if any of my videos on the main channel are here, if you want to show any support, dropping a comment goes a long way. So if you ever see any of my videos, even if they're like, I don't care if they're 10 years old, if you're watching any of them, dropping a comment is a huge help. All right. Yeah, I'd buy 3. Can you imagine 3 people sitting around a table, like sipping from these monster cups? And oh, tell me more. How's your kid doing in college? You know, so funny. This is one of my favorite things I've picked up that hasn't been like a normal modifier. What I say by normal is like, you know, umbrella or a softbox like that. The beauty dishes, Fresnel lenses. There's just something really special about a very, very good one. And I know that me and Daniel, we make fun of the dented one that we use all the time at our studio, but there is something magical about that crazy old beauty dish. I don't know if it's aged in a certain way, but when you've been looking at light for decades and you just see these subtleties that just are so special, you hold on to it like grim death, you know. You just can't let it go, you know. This by the way, this was total. Let me see if I can find the stream. Actually, what am I doing? I'm literally on a computer here. Let me see. Adorama events. Adorama. Hold on, guys. 1 second. Let me go to Adorama events. Why did it just do that? My YouTube search history is a lot of nerdy stuff, and it is going to a lot of dumb stuff about Elden Ring right now. So let me go here. Okay, so can you guys see my screen? So under playlists, if we go to this playlist, which we have 40 episodes, Fresnel lenses, here we go. So this is a stream where I shot with, they're not going to play now. Where I shot with a Fresnel lens is because I'm using too much data right now, trying to stream. Come on. There we go. Wow, this is episode 1, guys. Episode 1. So if you guys want to see something about, it's really hard to show Fresnel on a mannequin, I'll tell you that right now, because you're not looking at skin or eyeballs. I'll put this in the chat. You guys can check that out if you want. And you can see what's going on with Fresnel. This was also about edge mask, which I think was really cool. I kind of went all in on this, didn't I? But it was the first episode. I was trying really hard to get views up. 3,000 views is 7 dislikes. No matter what you do, someone's going to hate you. No matter what you do. But these are, they're just dope, man. I don't know. Fresnels can be expensive, but there's a reason, because you're paying for fidelity of light, you know? Man, this was a while ago. This was a year ago already. You believe that? Look at this guy, so wide-eyed, so young, the whole world ahead of him. What happened? So you guys can hit that link. I'll pin it to the chat or something. No, it's in the chat. I'll put it. I will pin it to the top. You guys can go watch that and check some other back episodes of this, because they all could use a little bit of help. You know, I'd like to see a stream using a spot with different lenses. We could try to do that. It's really not that major of a difference. Like, usually what happens is you pick a lens and you kind of stick with it. I don't know too many people that use optical spots and go, let me keep swapping out the lens a million times. And more people use wider lenses than longer lenses because you want to cover more area usually. I never understood people that do thumbs down, then just turn it off and move on to the next one. So I agree with you, and I'm like that because I don't want to hurt any creator, because I know how hard it is to do all this, no matter what I think of their stuff. But there are some people that believe that hitting a thumbs down will then train their own algorithm to not serve them that channel or that topic or that kind of video. So I'm not justifying it, but that is a crazy amount of ambition. Why is everyone texting me right now? Okay, no problem. Yeah. Oh shoot, do I have a 1 second, guys? I might have a call that I have to get on. No, okay. So yes, Lindsay Adler is a big user of optical spots, but and I'm not taking anything away from Lindsay, but just so you know, they've been around forever. I have what they call an Altman spotlight, which is actually a constant light source that I then had a custom flash tube put into it and then hardwired to be able to go into a Speedotron pack. And that's been in my studio for decades. The difference is that now they're cheaper, more accessible, and ready to go right out of a box. I've even made gobos out of tempered glass and heat-resistant paint. I made the Venom logo. Actually, do I have it? I bet you I can find a Venom logo that I made a long time ago. Albums, special effects, where are you? And it just became more common. And I think that happens with a lot of creative fields, is people find older tools that people don't know about, and then people go like, "Oh, this is so special and amazing." But it's more like, no, it's been around. You just found a way to apply it, or you found one to do it. And Profoto used to make a projector head like that, and they stopped making it, and it caused this whole thing. That's why Profoto put back out their small spot, or what is what they call it. Why can I not find my special effects folder? Oh, it's in alphabetical order. That's why. I'm dumb. Screen record, SP, special effects. Okay, so this is a Venom logo I projected onto a kid back in 2012. Let's see if it'll come up. It's trying to focus on that eyeball back there. Hang on. Or it's trying to focus on that Jason mask. Let's do this. So that's a Venom logo I projected onto this kid's chest because they gave me a weird Venom makeup to shoot. And so that is a piece of glass that's about 3 by 4 inches maybe. And I cut out the Venom logo out of a vinyl sticker, put it on the glass, spray painted the glass with barbecue paint, blacked out heat resistant paint, and then peeled it off and then threw it inside of what was then a stage light that I had modified for flash. So this has been around a long time, guys, a very, very long time. It's just now becoming a literal product you can pull off of a shelf. And you know what's funny is when I bought one a long time ago that was pretty modified, but it was really janky. And I bought it off of a guy who was retiring. And I saw, and he was selling his whole studio. And I walked in there, and this is prime time punk Seth. I'm talking, you thought I was homeless or something. Like this was prime time punk. And this guy was having a kick out of me a little bit. And I said, "Whoa, what's this?" And he says, "Oh, that? You don't want that." And I'm like, "No, I want it. What is it?" And he goes, "Well, that's like shooting with a laser beam." And I was like, "Yo, you mean I can control my light to like a dot?" And he was right. So I bought it off of him. It electrocuted me like twice. I got shocked by this thing twice. I had it rebuilt by a company that used to be in New York called Flash Clinic. I miss Flash Clinic so much. And they rebuilt it and they made it so that it was wired to a Speedotron for me because at the time I was shooting Speedotron. So I've had about 3 of those crazy contraption ones over my life. It was called an Altman focusing spot and you had to get them modified. That's how they worked, you know. I couldn't afford the Profoto one. I also wasn't shooting Profoto back then, so it made no sense for me. The Profoto one back then was around $3,000, I think. So yeah, you know. And I remember seeing him inside rental houses and just going like, "What is this? I can't wait to try one." Or the Profoto hard box, which Daniel is a massive fan of the Profoto hard box. It's a very specific tool for sure. What time are we at? Okay, we got a few more minutes. Any other questions, guys? Oh, I'm not good-hearted. I know the thumbs up is mainly malicious, but the thumbs down is mainly malicious, but people try to justify it like that, but they don't realize how much they're hurting creators by doing that. Thumbs down are just I don't know, man. Is what it is. No matter what you do, someone's gonna have a problem with it. No matter what you do, someone's gonna hate you for it. No matter what you say, someone's gonna call you wrong. No matter what you've done, no matter how much you prove it. That's what makes this all exhausting. Is like no matter what you do out there, someone's got something to say, or they want to find a hole in your game, and all you're trying to do is just do cool stuff or help some other people out. You know? Did I get taller? Or is this camera like slouching? What's going on here? Oh, that's loose. Okay. By the way, how you guys like the frame? A little black and white. Just filed out negative carrier action going on here. And for those of you wondering, yes, I can change it to boom, cross-processed color with the magenta. Look at that. Oh, these are from actual prints that I have on my wall back there that I just kind of scanned up and made a frame out of. I thought it was pretty cool. Anyway. Wait. I did a photo gig the other day with a Heart Gobo. It was a cheap one and wasn't very powerful. Do you have a recommendation for a higher power one? So there's a lot of reasons that a focusable spotlight won't be powerful. One, you're using a longer lens on it than a shorter lens. Two, the lens itself has a closed down aperture, like it's an f4 lens rather than something that's like a 2.8 or an f1.8 or something like that. And they will always eat light. Focusable spotlights will absolutely rob your strobe of power. A lot of people don't get that part. So you're going to be using higher powered strobes, moving them closer in than you think sometimes, maybe starting out at a higher ISO, all for the effect, right? So the lens has a lot to do with it. The distance has a lot to do with it. The lens has a lot to do with the distance. So if it's, let's say you put a 105 lens on there, you're going to be backing that thing up just to get this much to spread up on somebody. But if I put like a 50 millimeter lens on it, I can move it closer and get this wide. Well, guess what? If I move it closer, I'm gaining power. And if I can make it wider while being closer, that's more optimal. So it's a lens choice thing, right? So there's a lot of trade-offs. If you guys remember anything, always remember anything you do, any choice you make, any gear you jump into, anything at all that has to do with photography or lighting is a trade-off. If I introduce this, I lose that. If I want to do this, I won't be able to do that. You can't always do everything. My favorite one is people still comment on my travel stand video and they go, okay, but what if I want to have like a 20-pound light on there that's 40 feet in the air? Well, then you're not using travel stands. Otherwise, every stand will be a travel stand. Use your head. There's always a trade-off. Always a trade-off. All right. Why did this... Wait, what is going on here? Why is this... Has my audio been blown out for you guys? Okay. Any thoughts on editing on an iPad versus a laptop and a desktop? I edit everything I can on a MacBook. I have a very intense PC setup here, but I still feel like my Mac has better ability for color accuracy. And I think most people are going to be looking at it in Apple Color. So I just stick to my laptop for that. I'm not really a fan of editing on iPads. One, I cannot get used to just having an all touchscreen as my interface. Just doesn't work for me. Plus, I want to be able to calibrate my screen if I need to. But I do understand people that are all in on the iPad editing. I totally get it. It just never rung in for me. And if I had a Mac desktop setup, I would probably edit on that. But most of the time, I'm editing on the go, in between things. I mean, you have no idea. I can't remember the last time I actually sat home and just edited. Forget it. You know, after Coffee with Creators, I'm there like editing something, and then I got to go to a meeting, and then we're doing another video. Like, so a laptop is key for me. But I do think that this is also why I go all in on the laptops when I'm in the market for one. I just want to make sure that it'll be powerful enough for what's to come. Case in point, I'm still using an M2 MacBook, and Capture One has been doing some really amazing things with their AI features. But I've used MacBooks that are newer than mine, but lower spec, and it takes longer to render. So I'm like, all right, a laptop is a real investment for a photographer, especially if you shoot out there in the field. Andy is asking, it's looking increasingly likely there will be some big announcements around CP Plus over the next 2 weeks. Canon, hopefully Nikon, Z9 II designed for low light action. Okay, I'm going to say right now, you are not going to see a Z9 II from CP Plus. I don't think so, at least. I don't have any inside information. Don't start quoting me. But if I had to roll a guess based on track record, Nikon's big announcements have always been around the October season. If you've noticed, Z9 was announced in October, right? So I wouldn't bet on that. CP Plus, maybe you'll see some lens announcements. What bodies do you think would be announced there, right? The R6 III was already announced. The R5 II is not that old. I don't think you're going to see a flagship like R12 from Canon. We've already seen some cinema offerings, C50, ZR, right? I don't think we're going to be seeing massive announcements that you think. Will we see cool announcements? Maybe firmware, maybe some cool glass, but I just don't see CP Plus being the place to have a monster announcement from those brands. Um, you know, Fujifilm, this XT5 is getting a little long in the tooth, but it's still very viable and definitely not outdated. So I don't think they need that. I don't see Sony, maybe Sony. I think they're people looking at like the A7R6 at this point to come out, but do we need it? Right? Like what is happening right now that's on the market that you think is desperate for a refresh or an update? What would they put out that wouldn't be just an incremental update, like something significant? We aren't at a time frame in the market to see something monstrous come out. Unless there's a body out there, like maybe a Canon R3 II, maybe, and I'm talking like crazy maybe, but I don't think we're in a place timeline wise to see something. And you will not see a Z8 II till you see a Z9 II, and I don't think we're going to see a Z7 update. I just don't see it, guys. End of year maybe. I think end of year is going to be exciting. We'll see what happens. But right now, especially with tariffs going on, chip shortages going on, like even if they design something, could they build it? Could they fulfill orders? RAM chips exist in these cameras, guys. Guess what RAM chips are doing? Going 3 times in price, 10 times in price. You know? I sorry if I like deflated you there, buddy. I hope you don't you know, if you listen to forums, Nikon delivering raw pre-capture and folks think that's the Z9 too. So the Z9, Z8, anything with XP 7 processor, I don't think they were designed to do raw pre-capture. And I think that's a limitation of the processor. As advanced and as amazing as that processor is, I just don't think you're going to see that till the XP 8 processor comes out. And I would hope a Z9 II has a new processor to add some extra things, some more power to it, because we're only going to need more processing power going forward. And Nikon clearly doesn't put out bodies every year. The Z9 is going on, it's past its 4th year on the market, right? So whatever comes out next, it's going to have to last half a decade. So I'm hoping that there's a new processor in it. They've been doing a lot of cool things with firmware, so you don't got to go buy a new body. They're just giving you whatever the processor's capable of, you know? So we'll see. Maybe glass, maybe some glass, maybe some things with a new line of cameras. Like maybe they're going to gear up and do point and shoot cameras because they're so popular, right? The G7X or whatever, or maybe Coolpix gets announced, or maybe Sony brings back CyberShot or something like that. Maybe we'll see a line of cameras that get popped out, you know? Maybe Sony has the FX3 Mark II. We don't know, you know, that could be an announcement. Or the A7S4, maybe that could be an announcement. You know, that's getting a little long in the tooth as well, right? So I think we got few things that could be up for an update, but I just don't see a lot of things up for an update. I just don't, especially with the way the building is of the way the building of the electronics is going right now. It's just tough, man. I don't think you guys realize how much this affects the supply line and how much the tariffs affect things too. Can they sell it if they build it? Could they sell it? You know? I would love Nikon to do a digital rangefinder. If they did their Nikon S series as rangefinders, I think, oh, where is it? Where is my, how could you do the ZF and not think you should do a rangefinder as well? They gotta. I really hope they do. I just don't, I don't know. Right now, your rangefinder options are Leica and Fujifilm, sort of. But good luck getting your hands on a Fujifilm X100 series, anything right now that's not used. You know, people used to say that the Olympics were this benchmark for when we would get new announcements for equipment because it was such a showcase of the world. But it really hasn't been that way in a while. They might send prototypes all taped up and stuff. They did that with the Z9. They did do that with the R3 uh, 4 years ago. So I don't think it's as prevalent of a stage or a point in timeline that they aim for anymore. Does that make sense? Like if it happens, great, but I don't think they aim for it anymore. You know, any benefit of getting the new Explorer 100 Pro 2 over using speed lights I'm now using for indoor work? I mean, if you're not using a camera, I just cut myself. Come on. Okay. If you're not using a flash on camera, you gain a little bit of portability, tiny bit more power, but just not having to modify the snot out of a speed light to make it work off camera. I think there's a benefit to that. I think speed lights of being off camera have kind of had their time. And now we have actual like micro monolights, I call them, which they don't call them that. And I would say if you're not going to put something on camera, that's your benefit, you know. Also, they're easier to grip, meaning the lights can go right onto a stand. You don't need a stand adapter, things like that. That's really where you gain some stuff out of that. Does that make sense? Please make a cool retro vertical grip. No, that's not going to happen, dude. Sorry. What pro photographer is going to trust a pre-production camera at a critical event? So that's a good point. But what you have to realize is that they're not using it at the critical events. What they might do it as they swap between bodies. So in the past, you'll see them use it during like prelims or warm-ups or practice or, but when it comes down to like, this is the real runs or whatever, or the gold medal routines, or like then that's not when they're pulling out experimental. They are there and they'll mess with them, and they have, because don't forget the Olympics are weeks. This isn't just the one few minutes they shoot. They're shooting constantly for days, all day. It's grueling. Joe McNally talks about it on a live stream that we had on the main channel a while ago. If you look up sports photography, Joe McNally, it'll pop up. Actually, can I find it? Sports, Joe McNally, sports. Let's see if it comes up. Yep. So in this live stream, he talks about it. I'll put the link in the chat. Copy. Look at that shot. Jeez. Unbelievable. So you can hear him talk about shooting at the Olympics and that with that I don't know what's up with my YouTube. Like it's yeah, there we go. Joe McNally, they call him. Joe the Mac. When was this? A year ago. God, I love Joe, man. Joe's my boy. It's my guy. Okay. A Z version of the 120-300 2.0 would be super cool. Yeah, it's a specific lens though. I think you got to realize that that's a sports photographer's type lens, and it's going to be pricey, so it's not like a massive seller for them. But I get it. I get it. I would love wide primes for the Z mount for sure. I've been waiting for them for a long time. My only issue with the X100 is still I need the S2 bracket to put a modifier. So why would I replace my array of flashes? Well, that's the thing. You don't have to replace anything. If you have something that's working for you, or something isn't adding to what you're doing or making something easier, faster, or more efficient, what's the point? No one's saying you have to replace anything. Man, that is deeper than I thought. If I didn't have a dozen speed lights, I would absolutely get Explorer 100s. The transition will be slow for me. Well, you also have to realize you're going to have strobes that at some point are end of life. they start shifting in color. You know, you're not getting true color out of them. They overheat. Batteries don't last as long anymore. They've taken a hit. Maybe the zoom head starts getting a little weird on you. You know, they become less reliable. So yeah, that's when you start looking at what options you have to replace whatever you have. You know. All right. All right. Last call for questions, guys, because we're over time, but I got to get pop in a little bit. Uh, Let me know if this even helps you guys out. Are you okay with this format as opposed to being in the studio? I know that, you know, that's a little more dynamic and fun. You know, anything can happen. I'm in public. I can actually move. I can actually set up lights. I can actually shoot. Quinn's there. I know how much you guys like some eye candy. You creeps, you know. But but you know, I was kind of wondering if I should even do these streams from home because I don't know if there are any benefit to you guys. Thanks, Heidi. We appreciate it. All right. Last call, last call, last call. Biggest buyer's remorse is buying several pieces of equipment that cannot adapt to various lighting solutions. Yeah, that always sucks. If you buy some new gear and it doesn't work with like systems you have or modifiers you like, and you got to start figuring out adapters or DIY, just ugh. I'm with you. It's rough, you know. You always want to get the most out of what you're putting money into. Totally understand that. Have you rescued any 285s lately? No, I have plenty of them fostered here, and I never pull them out. I don't need to. I'm hoping there's a kid out there that's broke that finds 285s and comes roaring into this game the way I did. You know, you can buy those things for so little money, and they're just great. They're great little flashes with a lot of potential, and I really hope that they're still out there in garage sales or on Craigslist or whatever happens, or the Adorama used department. You know, this format works. Okay, cool. I would watch you streaming from a truck stop. Honestly, that'd be probably pretty interesting. All right, cool. Yeah, you know why I ask is these streams just like I've been saying for a while now. These streams just don't do well on this channel. They don't even hit 1,000 views. So I know they're not searchable, but I do know that you guys that are here, it is a very engaged, all-in audience, and I appreciate you, and that's who I do it for, right? This isn't a numbers game with these streams. This is a community thing. This is a consistency thing. This is giving you guys you know you can pop in because I remember having streams that I knew like, oh, they would be live every whatever, and I would just pop in and say what's up, you know. So, you know, I totally hear you. All right. Cool. I'm glad you guys are into it. If you're new here, hit subscribe. I would need to get this channel to 100,000. I want that silver play button. I want that silver play button to make friends with my personal silver play button. I want them to go like, hey, what are you into? Oh, I'm into photo stuff too. Me too. Do you like lighting? Oh, I like lighting. Oh, then we should hang out. You know, that's what I want to have happen with the silver play buttons. All right. All right, guys, I'm going to call it there because I got to get onto a call about another thing. Don't forget, tonight, late night tonight, I can't talk about it, but I got a video coming out on the main Adorama TV channel. Make sure you check that out. Drop lots of comments. It's a type of shoot I don't think you guys have ever seen me do before. Interesting enough. I'll leave it at that. It was pretty cool. And I think that you'll get something out of it no matter what system you shoot or don't worry about it. You just go hit it up. Drop me some comments in there. I'd appreciate it. Hit like, share this channel around, get some of your friends in these chat rooms. This week, if hopefully Mark Mann is going to go live from the event space, celebrity photographer, one of the most charming photographers on the planet. That'll be Wednesday. And Coffee with Creators is Roy Rochlin, who is one of the hardest working legit pros here in New York. Getty photographer. You've seen him in my Comic-Con videos. That'll be Wednesday. So double stream on Wednesday, guys. That'll be pretty cool. And no, I don't think there's any Daniel this week, but we're keeping it consistent, guys. We're doing the best we can to keep it consistent for you guys. And hopefully you feel like this channel is always here for you one way or another. If you are going to be in Las Vegas, oh, wow. This is, I am not going to be here next week. Next week, I am in Vegas. Wow, this is coming up so quick. If you're going to be in Vegas, I have a stage Monday at 9 a.m. and Wednesday at 9 a.m. Come to my classes, say what's up. Come to the Adorama booth. Daniel is going to be there. It's been a while since I've seen my man throw down in a booth demo. I'm pretty psyched for that. If you're going to be in Vegas, make sure you stop by Adorama's booth. There's demos all day, every day. Me, Daniel Norton, and a bunch of other amazing photographers in that roster. We have the best booth demos. I'm just going to say that. Yeah, I guess that's it. So I'll see you on the next stream. That'll be Wednesday, Call for the Creators, 11 a.m. Eastern on the main channel, Roy Rochland. Then 5 p.m. Eastern, Mark Mann will be live from the event space shooting single light portraits, celebrity photographer. And I cannot stream from the stage, guys. You know that. Hopefully I'll meet some of you guys in Vegas. If you've been in any of these chats, I would love to meet you. I got stickers for you guys. Don't forget, I got stickers for you peoples. Stickers for you peoples. Make sure you come and take them from me. And Brooklyn reflectors. This is the last stack of Brooklyn reflectors that I have. Make sure you go to Adorama's booth, ask for Teresa, say falafel, and you will get yourself a Brooklyn reflector, the real one, for real. All right, guys, I'm going to call it there. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. And again, hit subscribe, and I will see you next time. Later, guys. Peace.